do some serious investigation before you believe what you're reading in the newspapers. When you own the newspapers and when you control the newspapers, the television station, the media, you can get away with what they are doing. Now you might ask the question, will the police, will the army, will the authorities have some way of avoiding the viruses which are going to be rained down on the public by chemtrails? Well, your answer is yes. You see it on your screen. Here's a company called Baxter that is now making what will be known as a plasma derivative, a bioscavenger, which is being developed to prevent and possibly treat effects of exposure to certain chemical nerve agents, etc. Make a note on this YouTube. There it is, chemtrails over Mexico, central Mexico. Now when you see this out of the window of an aeroplane, you'd wonder why either the captain or the staff or the air crew or the people would ask questions, and why when they do ask questions they don't get any answers. Now you're looking at what happened out the window of a plane over the top of Mexico City, and this is 15 days ago, and we've now got an announcement in every newspaper all over the world that we have a bird flu, a swine flu, that has crossed its strains with other flus to make a pandemic on its way. Now you're looking at a picture over Mexico. Now notice something else. This plane, at between 30 and 40,000 feet, is above the cloud line, and the chemtrail dropping the virus on Mexico is above the plane's height. That chemtrail looks as if it was dropped at 100,000 feet. Now, to disperse anybody's opinion to say, oh, that's just the exhaust from a plane and that's the icicles, have a look again. No icicles make such a wide dispersion of like this chemtrail. So now you see what's going on above the skies over every city in the world.
The 12 were asked to determine the most influential newspapers in America. They were to figure out how many news organizations it would take to control generally the policy of the daily press of the United States. The 12 found it was only necessary to purchase the control of 25 of the greatest papers. An agreement was reached. The policy of the papers was bought, and an editor was placed at each paper to ensure that all published information was in keeping with the new policy. Soon, that policy would be defined by a front group formed by J.P. Morgan and his colleagues. In fact, Morgan's personal attorney was founding president of the organization, the Council on Foreign Relations. Today, the CFR maintains that its goal is to increase America's understanding of the world. However, the actual objective of this highly exclusive club is revealed by the rare admissions of the insiders themselves.
Now, as you can see here on the internet, the chemtrails were over Czechoslovakia on the 10th of April. So that's what, 18 days ago, and they just made the announcement about the swine flu hitting the world. Now here's the chemtrails over California a few days ago. Now here's another one over Brisbane, southeast Queensland. And as you can see, there's one question you've got to ask. Why does these chemtrails expand and they don't dissipate? If it was icicles, they dissipate in a short distance behind the plane. Here, these expand up to hundreds of miles, and as you can see, there's chemtrails expanding over Europe over Slovenia. Here's chemtrails over Spain. Now here's chemtrails over Germany and Denmark. Well, this will dispel any of the doubters who like to think that it's just a vapour trail coming out of a plane. This is over Portland, Oregon, and they are saturating the skies, absolutely saturating the skies, and all over the rural areas where seed is growing so that they can corrupt the seed for the farmer, then come down and claim that the farmer is growing their seed without a license, sue him and put him in jail. Now as you can see, this is in Dayton, Nevada, and this is where they grow the corn. And there's no doubt in anybody's mind now they realise.
Dayton, Nevada, and they're working hard to make sure the whole sky is covered with chemtrails. They're working it. You can see that plane right there going. And they always do it early in the morning, so you got to look into the sun.
Changes have happened many, many times now, thousands of times. And so by the time it gets from Mexico City to South Texas and San Antonio and then Austin and Kansas and New York and Montreal and all airplanes all over the world, it has mutated, until it is no longer as deadly as it was or as harmless. Now, talking to doctors, and that's why the particular doctor I talked to said, well, it looks like if it does start killing people in the U.S., then it is manufactured.
Now you got to admit, this is a great Hollywood production. This is one paper, Courier Mail, and we're defenceless. And it goes on to say that the fatal swine flu cannot be stopped. What do you think of that? And down here, you'll see that they've shot themselves in the foot, as one scientist has already put up on the internet. It says here, scientists have sequenced the virus and found it to be a combination of the swine flu, the avian flu, and the human flu. Well, how could that happen if somebody didn't put it into a test tube and make it that way? Because in nature, that can't happen that way. And as this scientist made it quite clear, there's more and more on the internet coming out every hour how this is a setup. Now here's another paper report, and as you can see, it's telling you that the vaccine is 9 weeks away. But they've got stockpiles, in the other paper they've got stockpiles of vaccine. And here it gives you a graph of how it comes from the chooks or the pigs, and it crosses over with the human beings, and it spreads from one human being to the other. This is not in nature. This is not in nature. If this is happening, this is man-made. Now here's another newspaper, and have a look at this. That's as good as a Hollywood production. We got all those pigs on the front page, and it's called the deadly pig virus. Hits New South Wales. And you know what? These pictures that you've just been looking at are all over the world. They're in newspapers all over in every city. And you know something? It said that there were 7 people got the virus, but guess what? It also said they had absolutely no contact with pigs. Now, as you can see in this press release, it's going to cost everybody $50 for a jab in the arm. But then there's another $150 per jab in the arm that the government pays. Now, convert that into 22 million people in Australia alone, and it'll give you an idea of how much big money is going into somebody's pocket.